the Madman! It's time for more cards. Let's rumble, starting with Druid's Predatory Instincts. 4 mana, draw a beast from your deck, double its health. 4 mana, draw a card. Okay, fine. You get to double its health preemptively, so it's like Divine Spirit bundled with draw a card. With the Divine Spirit, you usually see Inner Fire, but Druids don't have access to that. So, what do you want to Predatory Instincts is a good question. And one idea is Witchwood Grizzly. Doubling 12 health is a lot. 24 health, subtract out a few cards. That's a big boy. You can tutor for exactly Hadronox, but I don't think that that'll work very well, because what if you draw Hadronox? It does seem like you have to hit some very specific beasts in order for Instincts to be good, and that might be a shame because it seems like the beasts might want to all be put into some sort of mid-range beast deck, in which case Predatory Instincts might certainly be quite a bit worse because then you can't hit the beasts that you want with the Instincts. One of the big things that we might have to see before actually sending this card to its grave, though, is the Druid Loa card. All the Loas appear to be beasts, so if the Druid Loa is extremely good, then maybe Predatory Instincts could be good. But for now, not looking like it. Princess Talanji is an 8 mana Priest Legendary. 7/5. Battlecry, summon all minions from your hand that didn't start in your deck. Alright, so maybe it's a little too mean to call her a meme. Some people have been clamoring about this one, thinking about all the cool stuff you can do. So, big cards that'll get you big minions, which will go really well with Talanji. Stonehill Defender, you can discover huge taunt, sometimes. Bone Drake, which will usually get you big dragons. Curious Glimmerroot will sometimes get you minions, and is naturally a good card. After that, the card quality of cards that gets you minions starts to really plummet, I would say. Ultimately, the main problem with this card is that it costs so much, 8 mana, that by the time you get there, you'll probably be about at the point where you can play the cards, the big minions that you grabbed anyways. And it's got a little bit of chicken and the egg problem, like, are you gonna hold your big minions in your hand just to wait for Talanji? Or if you have Talanji in your hand already, like, how long are you going to wait to draw cards that find minions for you? Big tempo swing on the turn you played, admittedly, but are the stars going to align for Talanji? And I'm not seeing 7 health here. Haunting Visions. Shaman card, 3 mana. The next spell you cast this turn costs 3 less, discover a spell. There's some initial comparisons to Primordial Glyph, which was 2 mana. It costs 2 less. And therein lies the big difference between Haunting Visions and Primordial Glyph. Primordial Glyph holds the mana discount over time. Haunting Visions is a play it right now or lose it, buddy. That 3 less. And it doesn't have to be the spell you discover. You can play an unrelated spell, so in some way it's a lot like Farsight also, except Farsight carries the discount over, whereas Haunting Visions, again, you have to play that spell immediately or you lose the mana. So in some ways, you could think of this as a 0 mana discover a spell. But here's the question, is 0 mana discover a spell any good, especially in Shaman? Like, there are a few bad Shaman cards in it. Would I play a 0 mana discover a spell card? Probably not. Warrior gets our first ever 3 mana, 2 attack, 4 durability weapon. After you play a minion, deal 1 damage to it. And it doesn't lower the durability when it does that, so permanent enabler for your enrage minions or for your minions who just want to take that whip. So the problem here is, would anyone actually play a 3 mana 2/4 even if it didn't have this drawback to it? Comparable to Stormforged Axe, which is a 3 mana 2/3, 2/1, and it didn't really see any play. Is adding 1 durability that important? I mean, the problem is just you're hitting so many things, taking so much damage, and it's not helping that much since it's only 2 attack. Like, that doesn't really kill that many people. In short, maybe you should just play Bloodrazor if you're looking to enable these cards that want to take damage. Notably pretty good with Spiteful Smith. You play the Overlord's Whip, play the Spiteful Smith, Overlord's Whip becomes a 4 attack, 4 durability weapon. Wow. Probably a bit too slow in a control deck. You can't afford to hold this weapon for that long. This little weapon, probably not. For an aggro deck, I mean, it is 8 damage for 3 mana, but it is over so many turns. It precludes you from playing that many weapons, and also, aggro decks don't really want to deal 1 damage to their own minions, or do they? So we'll have to figure out whether or not this card's really good based off of other warrior cards that may be printed that might want to take damage, but for now, I'm not impressed. Another entry into the 1 mana 2/3 minion, Serenite Taskmaster. Now this has probably got some crippling weakness. Death Rattle, summon a 0/3 free agent with taunt for your opponent. Well, that is surprisingly reasonable. Now people are comparing this card with Zombie Chow and saying, yeah, that's worse than Zombie Chow. For the most part, I agree. 0/3 taunt is some amount of board control, and Zombie Chow just gave your opponent useless health. This gets them at least 3 health generally, but more importantly, the board control that a 0/3 taunt offers protection to all the other minions. And who knows if you're going to be able to elegantly deal with the free agent, like sometimes you overkill it. That said though, 1 mana 2/3 is really strong, and this is the delayed benefit for the opponent, and the benefit isn't even that high. It just is a 0 attack thing for your opponents, which might mean that this is better for control decks, because control decks generally have AoE, which can deal with a 3 health minion, no problem. So I'm actually very enthusiastic about this card. I like it quite a bit. I see a lot of value, 1 mana 5 stats. If I'm playing a control deck, or maybe a mid-range deck, I might not care so much about the 0/3 free agent with taunt. Maybe even an aggro deck. This is a strong base start, 1 mana 2/3. And a 0/3 free agent could combine well with Overkill. For cards that care about killing a enemy, no better free target than a free agent. And finally, welcome to one of the creepiest artworks in the game. 4 mana 3/2 Murloc Tasty Fin. Death Rattle, draw 2 Murlocs from your deck. Similar to Elven Minstrel in its stats and in its card advantageness, but contrary to Elven Minstrel, the card draw is slow, it's a Death Rattle. And Murloc decks tend to want fast draw because they need to pressure the opponent very quickly. Murloc tend to be heavy pressure decks also, which might not be able to afford a 4 mana 3 attack 2 health minion. Why this guy has the same amount of stats as the 1 mana guy. That said though, if Murlocs get a more mid-range tilt to them, or if you need them for like specifically combo purposes, for example, the old Anything Can Happen decks with Murloc Warleader and Bluegill Warrior, I could see the Tasty Fin having been good in a situation like that. But currently it doesn't seem to fit into the aggressive game plan of Murlocs. So here's hoping that Murloc Tasty Fin didn't prepare your Thanksgiving dinner. More cards coming up. Stay tuned for more from RASTAKHAN'S Rumble.